Well, it feels like there's a lot to talk about, and indeed there is. There's one topic I really want to talk about, and it's something that everyone right now has discussed or had an opinion on. It feels like I've missed a lot. Nate Marquardt's suspension, the controversies about that. The Hay Klitschko fight, which was an absolute disaster, and everyone who was out there arguing with me, telling me this was out in public, how Hay was going to win and how Hay was going to dominate and how Hay was going to knock him out and how Hay was the next Muhammad Ali. And then you go and watch that fight, and the man throws a sloppy overhand right and gets jabbed to death for 12 rounds. And I'm thinking, you're comparing this man to Muhammad Ali. There's a huge difference. And then that very same night, you had a UFC show which delivered in its height. While you had Hay going, oh no, could be 5 century. You had guys in the UFC who were going out there putting on a show, and there was one thing about that UFC show that really stood out, and I was glad to see Uriah Faber and Dominic Cruz get a headline spot. It was good to see the 135-pound weight class, bantamweight class, get the main event spot on a very big show with a lot of big names. And I felt that was a very positive thing, and it's a shame that pro wrestling will never do that with its cruiserweight title, but that's another thing. Anyways, it was good to see that, and it was good to see Cruz and Faber have that fight, and it was nice to see Cruz come out with the win. It was also nice to see Tito Ortiz versus Ryan Bader. And on the subject of Tito, everyone was saying, Tito's going to retire. Tito's going to retire. Hasn't won a fight in 5 years. Tito's going to retire. Ryan Bader's going to beat him. And you know what? To an extent, I somewhat believe that. And that was the main topic. Tito's going to retire. Tito's going to retire. And everyone would talk about Wanderlei Silva and Chris Lieben, but no one would talk about that fight and have the same Wanderlei's going to retire. That was not what it was on. That was not on no one's minds. And then Tito wins, and then you see the Wanderlei and Lieben fight, and you think, okay, 3-round war, hell for leather, and then Lieben knocks him out within about 22 to 33 seconds, I think it was. And then after that, this talk of will Wanderlei Silva retire, and to me, I want to know what everyone else out there thinks about this. What do I think? I think that when he lost to Dan Henderson and got knocked out by him, and when he got knocked out by Mirko Krokop, to me, those were telling signs that maybe his chin can't take the same kind of damage that it used to before. I remember in his prime, when his chin was like that, and you could hit him, and it wouldn't affect him. But now, his chin is not what it used to be, and it's getting like Arlovsky, where you hit him and he goes down. Granted, he went down a weight class, fought Michael Bisping, fought a very smart fight, and was never in any danger. Then again, I don't think Bisping has punching power. But the fact is, he's been stopped quite a few times in fights, and it's not like he's out, and he kind of gets. He was out. I mean, when he was knocked out by Lieben, he didn't know where he was, and it was a sad, sad thing to see. It was almost similar to when he got knocked out by Quinton Jackson, and it almost felt like watching. If anyone else out there watched that, when Ricky Hatton got knocked out by Manny Pacquiao, and he was out, he was just down. It was like very familiar and similar to that. And I just want to know what people think now. Does Wanderlei have any more fight left in him? What else does he have left to offer the sport in terms of being an MMA fighter? I feel that maybe, and I don't want to be the asshole that comes on here and goes, he should retire, man. Because really, he's free to do what he wants. And it's not, I mean, I can understand when people say it about Ken Shamrock. And I don't want to see Wanderlei Silva go in that same kind of, be mentioned in the same way that Ken Shamrock is mentioned, where people don't want to see Ken fight. And it's sad to see Ken fight. And the same thing where it's starting to get like that with Chuck Liddell, it became a sad thing to watch Chuck fight. Because you had this once great, prime MMA fighter, who is now a shell of his former self, and every time he gets tapped on the chin, he's out. And, it's starting to look like that's the case with Wanderlei Silva. I mean, he didn't want to fight Brian Stann, but I'm not saying he was scared to fight Brian Stann. He had his reasons for not fighting Brian Stann, but I think that he could have probably lost that fight too. And now I think about other fights in the middleweight division, and maybe I look at it like this: 185 in the sport as a whole is evolving, and you know, the guys who were on top several years ago are slowly being phased out. I mean, Matt Hughes. I remember way back when Matt Hughes and Rich Franklin and Wanderlei Silva and Mirko Krokop and Zakaraba and all of these guys were considered like the top guys. Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture, Tito Ortiz. They were considered the top guys, the kings of MMA. And then the sport started to evolve and evolve and eventually passed them by. And the way I look at it now is we've seen Randy Couture retire this year. We've seen Chuck Liddell retire. Matt Hughes, I think he may retire. He may retire after Diego Sanchez. Rich Franklin probably is contemplating it because he's fighting less, and it looks like to me that these guys are preparing themselves to eventually phase themselves out as fighters and maybe move on with different roles. And is Wanderlei Silva the next person in that category? I mean, I guess, I don't know, maybe it looks like he will retire. I mean, he's publicly said, he still wants to get back in there, but it's really depending on what happens with him and Dana White in their conversation. Is it going to be a deal where he takes a year off, or he takes some time off a lot like Chuck and then has one more fight and then comes back? Is it going to be a deal similar to Mirko Krokop, where, they gave Krokop, and apparently he's going to fight again? Is it going to be a deal like that? Is he going to be able to persuade them that he can have one more fight? And who knows? The fighter's mindset when it comes to retirement, it's a hard thing to do. And Bas Rutten said it very well. No one wants to retire on a loss. They always want to retire on a win. And a win is like like taking drugs. When you win, you want another one, and you want another one, and you want another one. So, who knows what's going to happen? I just want to know what everyone else out there is thinking. Does everyone else think that he should retire? Does everyone else think he should stay active in MMA? And does anyone else see him in another role in MMA? I think he has a lot to offer the sport as an ambassador. I think he has a lot to offer the sport as a trainer and as a coach and as a mentor to the young fighters. And maybe that would be the best role for him right now, and I think he could make a huge difference to MMA in that respect. And I just want to say, as a fan of Wanderlei Silva, he has no fucking clue who I am, but to get this out there, this just shows you, this man right here, not my action figure, but I will always respect and admire and have a huge amount of appreciation for Wanderlei Silva, because this is a man that came out and he put on a show and he gave you your money's worth as a fan, and he cared about what you, sitting at home at TV or in attendance, he cared that you were going to get your money's worth. And he's a guy that literally gave you his heart and soul every time he fought. And to me, that's the main reason why we all, as fans, love Wanderlei Silva so much, because I feel that he is genuine to his fans. You get a lot of guys, a lot of public figures and celebrities that, oh, I love my fans, and it seems so contrived and unreal, but with Wanderlei, it feels very genuine and very real, and the man has a huge heart, and that's why he's loved by MMA. So guys, let me know what you think. I'm going to stop right now, and just write some comments, let me know what you think. Should Wanderlei retire? Do you see the sport evolving to the point where he might actually just, have to call it a day? Anyways, I'm going to stop. I'm Waffman. Let me know what you think, and take care.